Welcome back to Love of One. Today I'm sitting down with Angela Ardolino for a conversation that might shift how you see healing for your pets and for yourself. We talk about plant medicine, the body's natural ability to return to balance, and what happens when we start looking at the root causes instead of just symptoms. If you love your animals, and I know that you do, this one will land. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Love of One podcast. Today I have a special guest, as I always do. This one, we're going to talk about our feline and canine friends more so than our own self, but you'll see how they also intertwine with each other. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Angela Ardolino. I really want to discuss first how you got started in this, because this is quite interesting topic. I don't have dogs, but I have 3 cats.
Awesome.
So I have plenty of dog friends, and I'm always curious about how we can treat our pets just as much as we treat ourselves with natural remedies, because we don't really think of it that much, but they're just as important to us as a baby or as a family member of any of the humankind. Today I want to explore how we can think about how we can take care of our fur baby friends, how we can utilize plant medicine for that or other natural oils, and how they interact with that, and how our bodies are either similar or not similar. You let us know, you're the expert, and how we can receive that care, and how our systems are maybe the same or different, and what does that look like, and some of your exciting research that you've came out with recently too that I really think will hit home with a lot of our listeners today.
I love this because when we learn how to take care of our pets like holistically, we learn how to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves. And I actually learned all about plant and mushroom medicine because I was already living a pretty natural lifestyle. You know, I thought I had removed most of the toxins out of my life. I fixed my diet. But then 10 years ago, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And when I went to go, of course, my doctor prescribed me Humira, which is a pharmaceutical drug that's prescribed for most autoimmune disease, meaning not particular to the one I had.
Right.
It's already been linked to lymphoma, has horrible side effects, and that's not what I'm interested in. I wasn't putting any chemicals in my body. I wasn't eating any chemicals. Why would I start now? So when I got to the root cause of what causes rheumatoid arthritis, I was like, okay, I gave myself this disease. That means I can reverse it. And like I do for everything, I turned to Mother Nature because Mother Nature provides us with all the food and medicine that we need. So I was like, all right, let me go find what in nature is going to help me reverse this disease and get me back to homeostasis. And that's when I discovered cannabis medicine. I can't even remember the first person who suggested it to me, but it must have been like 5 people said it. Have you tried cannabis? Have you tried cannabis? And of course, I was like everybody else going, cannabis, the drug, the recreational drug? That's literally what I thought. And I was like, oh, wait. I was handed a tincture, a lot like me.
Yeah.
I was handed a tincture. What is it? What harm is it going to be? I put a full dropper in my mouth and immediately felt relief. Like literally felt it go through my body and felt pain leave. Felt my anxiety go down, my stress go down. I was like, what in the world did I just take? This is incredible. I'm not high. I just feel fantastic. So that led me into wanting to know more. At the time, I had a media company. So all I did was write at a magazine, a radio show, a syndicated television show segment that was all about natural living for your family, your pets, eating, getting the top, all of it. So I was like, all right, I need to know more about this. How do I not know about this medicine? So I started to find women who were helping their own kids and their own families. So this group called Canamoms, who were like literally reversing their kids' seizures, getting rid of tumors, getting rid of brain cancer. So I really started to report on what they were doing with their families because I was in Florida at the time, which was still illegal. So we weren't, approved for medical marijuana. So I became a huge advocate, got it legalized in Florida. And let's see, this was 2016. I sold my business, threw myself into the industry, hired the best cannabis medicine consultant, traveled the country, learned how to grow it, sources, strains,
Good for
how it works.
you, Angela.
And
Yeah.
then in 2016, I was invited to the University of Vermont School of Medicine's inaugural class for the study of cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. So
Hmm.
after attending that, that's where I learned that animals have the endocannabinoid system just like we do. It's actually called the endocannabinoid ome now because it incorporates
Oh,
the gut microbiome, is all part of it now because there's receptors everywhere. And I had already been a huge animal advocate and had a rescue for 17 years, had bought a very busy groom shop and opened up a second location. So my life was all about caring and rescuing animals. So I was like, all right, since I know that dogs and animals have the same system, I'm going to become an expert for animals. So that's what I chose to do. And literally just started to put into, first of all, I went out into the marketplace to go find these wonderful medicines and realized that most people don't know how to make it, don't
yeah,
know how to
that makes
grow it,
sense to me.
don't know how to
Hmm.
source it, don't know how to do all of those things. So I was like, couldn't find a product that was uh had a therapeutic dose that was safe, that didn't include other ingredients that weren't good for animals. So I ended
Hmm.
up creating my own formulations and releasing them in 2018. But in the meantime, I took in every, sick animal, every sick, whether it was a chicken or a duck or a goose or a pig or a dog or a cat, wildlife, you name it. And I basically practiced what I learned at the University of Vermont. You got to understand that our veterinarians and our doctors aren't taught anything about the endocannabinoid system. And the endocannabinoid system is our master system in our body. It is in
Isn't that
control
interesting?
of all of our other systems, but they're not taught anything about it. And this incredible cannabis plant, along with other adaptogens, which adaptogens are plants, roots, sometimes dirt, but mushrooms and a lot of herbs are adaptogens. And when we take adaptogens, they literally adapt to what we need, to our stressors. So you and I can take the same exact thing, but the adaptogens are going to work on what's going to help
Sure.
you and bring you back to homeostasis, and the same with me. So after learning that, it was just, all right, let me see what I can do. Let me take these animals that often people give up on because they can't figure out what's wrong. Conventional doctors, as you know, don't get to the root of the problem. They,
Sure.
deal with the symptoms and suppress the symptoms. So I was able to do incredible things like reverse cancer, stop seizures. One of my favorite cases is Frenchie that hadn't walked for 4 years, got
Mm.
up and walked again. And I
Oh,
understand, people go, oh my God, this is a miracle. I'm like, no, it's not. It's this
yeah.
incredible system that's in our body that we've been ignoring. And all it wants is
Yeah.
plants and mushrooms, to feed
Well,
it and get us back to homeostasis. That's
why do
how I
you?
got into this and started this. And I'm telling you, there are very few people who are making a human or an animal product that have any experience, that have studied, that have formulated. There's very few of us that know how this incredible medicine works. And it interacts with that master system. So a lot of times I'm the person that comes in at the end where a person cannot get well, can't get back to normal. I'm the person that goes, this is why you're ignoring the
Yeah.
system, or this is blocking the system from working. Whether it's
Huh.
a isolated synthetic ingredient that's found in a food or a supplement, or even in a prescription medication sometimes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why do you think that people are taught about these endocrine systems? Is that yeah? Why? Because
Endocannabinoid system.
endocannabinoid systems? Is that because if we treat it, we can't just keep making money off of you? Cool.
That's exactly why. So if we have this incredible plant that Mother
Huh.
Nature has provided us, that literally this system is named after, and the reason we get back to homeostasis. Yeah. Why
Yeah.
would we want to give people one plant that's going to get them back to normal when we can
Yeah.
treat each system separately and they never get back to homeostasis, and they become good customers. And
Right.
they're
Same with our
constantly
dogs.
Well, it's worse for our dogs, and this is why it's worse for our dogs. A, they don't have to do the same research, and there's no repercussion for someone killing your pet. So I can make a drug, you can give it to your dog, I can kill your dog with my drug. Your veterinarian can go, yep, this is what did it, and there's no repercussions because in the United States, pets are property. So even if you were to win, the judge is going to go, how much were your vet bills? And instead, they
Oh,
killed a family member. They gave
yeah.
something to your family member. And this is why I stay in the animal realm, because I'm a human clinician also. But I
Yeah.
stay in the animal realm because animal, especially our dogs and cats, give unconditional love. And sometimes it's the only time a person experiences unconditional love. I
Absolutely.
I know, I mean, I could say hundreds of people who, when they have lost their pet, their soul animal, it felt worse than losing, a family member. And
For
I
sure.
know that. I lost my soul dog and I felt it. I still feel it. I still miss him. And it was like, why is this so intense? And it's because it's such complete and unconditional love that these animals give us. And so I want
It's
to be
pure
their
connection.
protector.
Yeah, it's
Pure.
pure connection. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and people are finding that even more scientifically. They have this total connections, just like meeting a soulmate, right? It's sometimes the animal truly is our soulmate, just in a different
Yep.
version of themselves, just to be with us, to hold our hand through things and walk through us with
Exactly.
us. Yeah, it's amazing. So that if you're doing all these different tinctures for the animals and finding all of these cures successful, and if we are built very similar with our structure, wouldn't that then say that these tinctures would also help the humans?
Absolutely. So what's fun is
Mm.
that when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the same year, my soul dog
Mhm.
was diagnosed with degenerative myelopathy, which is, it's a deterioration of their spine and they lose the use of their back end. The medicine that I made for us was the same. So his picture's on the bottle, but that's what I take every day and how I was able to put my disease into remission. And it is a
Mhm.
full spectrum hemp extract. And what a full spectrum hemp extract is, and I don't know if you know the difference between hemp and marijuana, but I'll go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead.
explain it
Some of our
for
listeners
those
may
who are
not. Yeah,
listening.
yeah.
But marijuana and hemp both come from the cannabis plant. They're just different makeups of cannabinoids that are inside those plants. So everything is cannabis. If that cannabis plant has more THC, it therefore has less CBD and is considered marijuana. And if it has more CBD, it therefore has less THC and is considered hemp. Hemp is amazing for our pets, especially our dogs, because we already have research that shows they have like 10 times more the receptors than we do. And it makes a lot of
Amazing.
sense why animals have more receptors than us. So they don't need as much as that THC, but it is not toxic to them and it is not dangerous to them. And never in the history of the world has anyone ever died by taking a pure marijuana, hemp, or cannabis extract. Never.
Mhm.
It's impossible. The body knows what it is. It doesn't affect our heart and breathing. It does not hurt us. It only helps us. You cannot hurt an animal. It's called LD50. There's no lethal dose that will kill an animal. They tried to see what the lethal dose would be. In
Mhm.
1973, they ran a study called the Rosencrantz study where they literally wanted to see how much THC it would take to kill a person. And like they do in most scientific research, they test on animals. So they did it on rats, beagles, and chimpanzees. They gave them 9,000 milligrams of THC, which is
Jeez,
insane.
that's insane.
And 2 rats passed because they regurgitated in their sleep and asphyxiated
Oh,
themselves. Had nothing to do with the THC. And the beagles, didn't affect a single beagle bad. Of course, they were high. And then the chimpanzees, within a couple months, metabolized themselves and weren't even acting high anymore. So it was
wow.
like the body went, "Oh, okay, we're going to get this every day. Then let's figure this out and deal with
How are we
it."
going to work through this? Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Instead of, damaging the liver, the kidneys, the detox
Right.
pathways,
With
the
pharmaceuticals.
exactly. the body knows and recognizes what this medicine is when it's made in its pure form. So what a full spectrum hemp extract is that we're extracting all of those beautiful medicinal properties out of the flower of the plant, which is where it's most potent and where it lives. And then extracting so that we get as many of those compounds out of there, because they all have a job and they all work together. So for instance, you take a hemp or a cannabis extract and you remove the THC, you've literally chopped off the arm. You literally taken away one of the most important compounds, because CBD doesn't even bind to the receptors unless THC binds to it first. So if someone
they work together.
Right. So it's all of the compounds in that flower work together. So
I would think so.
Yeah, you extract it wrong and you're not getting all of them. You could be taking away something that's making something else work. So it's very important that it's always a full spectrum, and cannabis is called a full extract of cannabis oil, or FICO, or RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil, which is a man who happened to heal his skin cancer with a hemp extract. So it's been named after them. But when we talk about our animals, or even us, I take a full spectrum hemp extract every single day. And the formulation that I made for myself and my dog, I also include turmeric and frankincense extracts, because both turmeric and frankincense, the reason they're so fantastic is because they share some of the same compounds as cannabis does. Beta-carotene is one of the most incredible anti-inflammatories, and that's why turmeric and frankincense are so amazing. And they share it. Wow. And when you put these adaptogens together, we also have research, and I've seen it over and over again, they become much more powerful, synergistic, so you really can get rid of pain, take care of pain. Like pain, for instance, operates through 5 signaling pathways. Pharmaceutical drugs are made to interact with one. So that's why, especially in pets, they give them a pain med, they come back, how's his pain? I think he's still experiencing pain. So they give him another one and then another one. And now they're on 4 or 5 different pain meds, and nobody knows what happens what the interaction is when you put all of those chemicals together. And then, of course, the body, it can't be good. And the body doesn't recognize it. The liver has to work overtime, which means the liver is not healing and detoxing. And in animals, because I adopted so many old, sick dogs, every single one of them was covered with lumps and bumps. I'm like, what are these? Why do they all have these? Well, guess what? When the liver can't figure out or doesn't recognize a chemical, a synthetic chemical, it stores it in their fatty tissue. So it literally gives up. It
has to go somewhere.
Got to go somewhere. So sometimes it doesn't know whether it should store it, doesn't know whether it should send it out of the body. It doesn't know what to do. So that's what all those lumps and bumps are. And the worst thing that someone could do is go to the vet and cut open or try to cut out that thing, which could be years and years of toxins that the body has stored in there. So that's a lot of times, that's when I get the call. I got this big lump and bump. I had surgery and now he's doing 10 times worse. Well, we know why. I know why that's happening.
Yeah, I remember we were discussing before we had this recording that a lot of times whatever medicines don't pass for us to ingest, they go to the veterinarians. Can you talk about that a little bit? Especially because our listeners I think it's good awareness to bring out there. Because when I thought that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is horrible. That needs to be more brought front and center.
Yeah, you got to understand that when a pharmaceutical company creates a drug, it takes years and years. They're literally taking a compound that exists in nature that does this action, but you can't patent nature and make billions of dollars off of it. So they try to replicate nature in a lab, and they do it by putting a concoction of chemicals, together. And it takes years and millions of dollars. And then when they release it and they start doing this research on it, and the one that I want to talk about right now is called Librela. It was literally released as a human drug and taken off the market Do you think that Pfizer is just going to flush the thousands of dollars and time it took to
Oh, heck no.
develop this drug? No.
Absolutely
So what
not. Yeah.
happens is that it ends up in the veterinarian space and starts being prescribed. And people don't understand that our veterinarians, our conventional veterinarians, are literally taught how to write prescriptions. Are they incredible for emergency situations? Yes. Are drugs incredible for emergency situations? Absolutely. I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. I'm anti writing a prescription to a drug that's going to disrupt homeostasis instead of get the body back to homeostasis. So yes, there's a place for antibiotics, steroids, everything, but they should not be used long-term because they have really bad side effects. So this Librela drug, I haven't even looked at the latest, but in last year was up to 17,000 adverse reports, several deaths. What the drug literally does is stop from us regenerating our nerves. And the audacity of these drug makers that come in and just stop a body's action without all the other repercussions that's going to cause. So many deaths, so many things. So I always tell everybody, I don't care who told you, where you're finding out about this supplement, drug, or food. You have to do your own homework. You have to
do your own
read
homework, have your own
ingredients.
discernment. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
100%.
easy to go into AI or Google and type, please show me the adverse events and side effects of this drug. And it will tell you and it will show you. And you do not have to give your dog, your pet, that drug. So it's very important. Apoquil, Cytopoint, two others that I hate that literally are handed out by allergy, because the dog's itching or has allergies, and sure enough turns off the itch, but it doesn't get to the root cause. It's just stopping your dog from itching. It's not taking care of the issue and causes cancer or neoplasia, as they put in the pamphlet. So if you don't know what that is. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you really want to look out.
Yeah. I think
Same thing with the flea and tick. Flea and tick meds.
Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah.
And they're coming out of your dog.
And they're expensive, as I'll get out.
They're expensive, and you're literally feeding your dog or cat pesticides. And they're not staying in your dog or cat. They're coming out in their skin. They're getting on your furniture. They're getting in ponds, pools, lakes. They're literally polluting them and killing fish. So yeah, it's really difficult, and fleas and ticks are the bane of my existence, and it's not easy to treat them, normally.
Yeah.
But it is possible, and it's just, those poisons. I just want you to imagine taking a bug spray and putting it all over your dog and then thinking that's normal.
Yeah.
But worse, you're putting
normal.
it inside them.
Inside there.
So that it comes out in them. So yeah, it's a lot, and it's you really have to look out for what you're putting in and on your dog, because it will affect your whole house and your whole family.
Yeah. Of course.
It's important.
Yeah, I think too what I really appreciated with our conversation prior was that, and you mentioned it a little bit at the very beginning, that when we start researching what we can do for our animals, we learn through them, and then we take that onto ourselves, like, oh, I could cure myself with that. Or if I'm doing this for my dog, why am I not doing this for myself?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's intriguing to me.
Well, it's almost like you can watch aging sped up in front of you when you have a dog, because they age quicker. So, when they're 7 years old, most of them are senior citizens already.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times their owner isn't, or maybe they're about to. So you can go, okay, well, he's not going up the steps anymore because he's experiencing arthritis and he's in pain. So you just need to support him a little bit more and give him this. And then, then they start going, but wait, I got back pain. I have arthritis. Will it work for me?
I need help up the stairs.
Exactly. And then they start taking it, and they learn how to take care of themselves also. Because for some reason, we're more open to trying something holistic or based in, plant or mushroom medicine on our animals before we do it for ourselves. But, people, when I talk about the benefits of mushrooms and how incredible they are, and people are like, well, how do they do all those things? Well, because they're literally packed with vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and
Uh-huh.
what
They come
else?
from the soil.
They literally I have a t-shirt that says mushrooms and cannabis will save the world. And I
Huh.
say that because so much of our food is, lacking in nutrients, and
Yes,
mushrooms
totally.
have them all. We all are like lacking vitamin B and D, and mushrooms provide that. Fiber, feeding the gut, mushrooms do
Mhm.
all of that. So I am so fascinated by how I have not, there's not, nothing has come across me, a case that hasn't come across me that I haven't been able to help with plant and
Uh-huh.
mushroom medicine.
Oh, well,
Helps
that's
everybody.
interesting that you I love that. I am a huge, huge, huge believer in plant medicine of all different types. And it's not that every type is for everybody, but there is a type
No.
for everybody. You just
Right.
have
You
to
just have
figure
to
out
find
what your
your
cocktail
combo.
is. Yeah.
Exactly.
I recently did some energy work well, with the planet, and they were telling me how it's interesting because geographically, wherever we find ourselves geographically and whatever is growing around us is actually what is needed for us. So, like, if I don't live in Europe, then whatever's growing there isn't for me. I'm living here in Oregon. Whatever's growing around me is for my biological system. So it's really interesting. Like our souls, put ourselves in the geographical location of what we need if we just go outside ourselves and literally go outside and look at what's growing.
Exactly. Or even look at
Mhm.
the seasons and what
Totally. With the
pops up
seasons.
when. Like right now,
Mhm.
it's spring cleaning. Dandelions
Yeah.
are popping up everywhere.
Dandelions. Clean your liver. Yeah. With dandelions.
Exactly. So it's like literally everything makes sense in nature. It really does.
Uh-huh.
And I,
It does.
like you, want to be aligned with nature instead of working against it. I really feel
Yeah.
like every time I make that choice, I get to see the benefit. I get
Yeah.
to, whether it's I look at my 15-year-old dogs compared to
Uh-huh.
other 15-year-old dogs, or I look at my 56-year-old self compared to other 56-year-olds who
Yeah.
haven't changed their diet, who are
Yeah.
in the standard of care, which that's what it is. That's what conventional
Yeah.
medicine is for both us
Good
and our
point.
animals. It's a standard of care. You have this, you get this. You get this
Mhm.
procedure, you get this drug, end of story. When holistic medicine isn't like that. It's
No.
very it's rooted in nature. And what's
Mhm.
funny is that, how many times I get, you know, told on social media, you're not a vet. Or, what else do they say? It's not based on evidence.
Oh,
Yes, it
I
is.
love that one.
I
Yeah.
do too. You just aren't hearing it. Your news
Yeah.
reporter isn't telling you that there's
Yeah.
already a cure for cancer or seizures
Yep.
or autoimmune diseases because there's no money to be made in that. But
Yeah.
everything that we need, Mother Nature provides. And
And there is
there's
evidence. You just have to look
tons
for it.
of evidence. Yeah.
Mhm.
So as you know, I just did my first piece of clinical research.
I was gonna
Um,
say, speaking of evidence, let's dive
yeah,
into this because
exactly.
this is so intriguing for our listeners. And I wanna just pause for a second because for every listener that's listening to this, I know that you know somebody or someone in your circle who suffers from this particular disease we're gonna talk about. And so I wanna just have everyone like listen in because this is really important. And I found this the most fascinating and intriguing topic and information from Angela. So, Angela, go ahead because I'm so
Thanks.
intrigued by your research on this.
So am I. And thank you for being so intrigued because so was I. So
Mhm.
let me start like what even led me to do this because so I want you to picture me. I live on 3 acres. I have a rescue farm where I rescue pigs, ducks, chickens,
I love that.
some wildlife, but mostly old dogs. So I would get these old dogs. Once I went to the University of Vermont, I was like, okay, let me see what I can do and how I can change these animals' lives. My groom shop on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday would get 75 to 100 dogs come through my shop.
Wow.
85% of them were suffering. They were
Oh,
covered in lumps and bumps, skin irritations, allergies, you name it. I saw some crazy things. And I could not believe, like, this is literally why I do what I do. So I would start adopting them. I had some relationships with some veterinarians that would call me up and go, hey, got a case I think you can do something with. They want to put the dog down or they think there's nothing else. I would take the dog, remove them, wean them off of all their pharmaceuticals, their creams, their
Love it.
shampoos, the pills, all of it. They were all on a combination of 5 to 10 different things. I took pictures every
Jeez.
single time, would slowly wean them off, build up their gut microbiome, feed their endocannabinoid system, and bring them back to homeostasis. And it didn't matter what they had. Cushing's and cancer, you name it. I could always get them back to homeostasis no matter how old they were. And I met Miss Daisy, and Miss Daisy came to me with a big old golf size mast cell tumor attached to her spine and lameness in her back end. Killed that MCT. What a beautiful thing, gross thing that is to watch.
I bet.
The body. When you support the body to kill and remove cancer, and you can see it on the outside, it's pretty incredible. But did that, and that I did that so many times that literally I can tell someone could show me a picture and I'm like, oh yeah, you got another week, it's going to be dried up and gone, kind of.
I love that. Yeah.
So I did all this for her. And when she was 17, she would start to get up from her bed, walk over to the water bowl and just stand there. Go back to her bed, do this like 4 or 5 times in a row. I'd just be sitting there watching her going, what the heck? Never drink. And my partner said, I think she has Alzheimer's. So what made you say that? And he goes, because when he lost his father to Alzheimer's, and he goes, you forget how to eat and drink. So I looked that up, and sure enough, that is how you die from Alzheimer's. Everyone thinks it's a memory loss disease, and it is not. You don't lose your ability. I mean, you're not thirsty and not hungry. You're still thirsty and hungry. You just don't remember how to eat or drink. Awful. And I was like, what? So, of course, I go, all right, what do we have for people and animals for this? There isn't anything. If you look at the drugs that are being given to people, and now coming out this year, there's going to be anti-aging drugs for dogs. There's also going to be Ozempic type drugs for dogs. Really?
Yeah. Oh
so, because it's all about money. We can make money off it.
Of course.
We can sell. We don't have to teach them about diet and nutrition. Instead, we could just give them a drug, and that's how we'll prevent their dog from being obese. I mean, it's insane. It's insanity when you think about it.
It is. Yeah.
So I got to work, and I was like, all right, let me see. I always turn to nature. Let me go see what already has been researched and proven, and it's all out there already. So I just took the ones that have already been researched and proven. And now when I say lion's mane, I'm talking about dual extractions of lion's mane mushrooms, dual extractions of reishi, cordyceps, and bacopa monnieri and ashwagandha. So lion's mane, reishi, and cordyceps have all been proven already. And literally you could take this into a Google and say, show me the evidence or the research, the clinical research on reishi for brain health, and it'll all be there. It's just never shared with us. So I took those that had already been proven to help brain activity, protect the brain, lion's mane, and bacopa monnieri. Bacopa monnieri is a plant that is an adaptogen. They have both already been proven to regrow our telomeres. And for those of you who don't know what our telomeres are the little X structure inside of our DNA of our cells. And when we age, every time our cells replicate, the telomeres shrink. And when they shrink, aging occurs. Lion's mane extracts and bacopa monnieri extracts regrow our telomeres. So it's literally anti-aging, reversing aging. They also regenerate neurons. So it is incredible what these plants and mushrooms have already been proven to do. And then we also have research that shows when we put several adaptogens together, they become much more powerful and synergistic. So it's like, all right, I'm only putting 350 milligrams of each of these in, but when I put them all together, it becomes like 1,500 mil. Yeah, it's very, I always picture them. Did you ever watch the movie Osmosis Jones?
I don't think so.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
But I'm gonna now. Yeah.
You have kids, right?
Yeah.
Watch it with your kids. It's the best. It's basically about a white blood cell that lives in, oh my God, I keep wanting to say Jim Belushi, and it's not him. It's, oh my God, it's a huge actor. Anyway, a comedic
Okay, I'll
actor.
put it in the way. Yeah.
It's a white blood cell that lives inside his body, and it's the
Oh,
best
wow.
education on how a body works, especially for kids, but it's
Oh,
hilarious.
I
But I
love it.
just picture all these
Okay.
adaptogens going, okay, you go there, you take care of that. I'm going to go down. You know what I'm saying? Take care of
Yeah,
everything.
instructing everything.
So
That's
I
amazing.
created this formula, and some of the other things that I did, it's called a spagyric preparation. So when I make formulations, I don't cut any corners. I don't look at cost whatsoever. I look at
Yeah,
how potent,
good.
how I want the best of the best. So I work with a myco-alchemist. He's brilliant, and we do a spagyric preparation. So we do a hot water extraction and an
Mhm,
alcohol extraction, which is what a dual extraction is considered. And then we do a
mhm.
spagyric, which means everything that after the extraction, what's left, we
Yeah.
purify it and put it back in. So it's a
Oh, interesting.
true whole mushroom extract and
Wow.
has all the medicinal compounds. The other thing that I do that many don't do is mushrooms have to be fed a biologically appropriate diet, just like we
Mhm.
do,
That makes
just like
sense.
the animals we
They're a
eat
living
have to be.
organism. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Everything needs to, how it's found in nature or how it should exist in nature. Most mushroom products are grown on grain.
mm,
So do not have the
mm.
bioactive compounds that,
I would imagine
because they're
not.
not, it's just like the difference between a cow that's fed grain versus a pasture raised
Grass.
animal.
Mhm,
You're not going to get, it's not going to be healthy. It's not going to have all the nutrients and everything that you need in it. So we always grow on the substrate that is found in nature. So we wild forage sustainably. And what we can't get wild forage, we grow wild cultivate, meaning we grow it on the wood that it was found in nature.
yeah, that's amazing.
Which is very important because it will not. For instance, chaga. Chaga
Mhm.
has to be grown on a live birch tree. If it
That makes
does not
sense.
come from a live birch tree, which 90% of it does not,
Do
it
not.
will not have betulinic acid, the number one compound in there
Huh,
that makes chaga so incredible. So it's very
huh,
important
huh.
where they come from. And most products come from 3 manufacturers. 2 of them are giant ones in China, and one here in the United States that's basically trying to replicate what they're doing in China. And they are the grain that they
Oh,
put the spores on, the mycelium eats the spores, the mushroom pops the little baby primordia up. They take that entire thing, grind it up, put it in a powder capsule, pack it or container, and call
what?
it a mushroom. And it has no mushrooms in it
No,
whatsoever. So it's
that's
really
horrible.
important
Wow.
for those that are listening that are like, oh my God, I want to try
Educate
mushrooms,
themselves.
that you educate
Mhm,
yourselves. Also, alcohol's bad. I think
mhm.
it's funny that I have to remind people of that alcohol's not good for us. But it is especially not good for our animals. Our animals
Mhm.
don't even have the enzyme that breaks down alcohol. So a little bit in a tincture is like a shot to them, and their
I would
body has to
imagine.
react to it. I'm a
That's
do no
interesting.
harm
I'm
person.
glad you said that because I was not sure about that. Like most tinctures come with pure alcohol or vodka, right? They make them even tincture recipes call for like vodka. And I always think, but for those people that don't want any alcohol in their system, how are they supposed to take these tinctures?
2 things.
Same with
So
for animals.
if you have a alcohol, now remember that was always done that way back in the day, an alcohol
Mhm.
extraction. The thing is, I do an alcohol extraction. I just take the time and money that most people don't want
Mhm.
to do and evaporate it off before I bottle my
I
product.
see. Evaporate it.
But
Okay.
if you have and you're using alcohol tinctures for yourself or your animals, just do that at home. I
No,
can't
no.
remember how long it takes, but you can take out your dose, sit it like in a shot glass, and let the
Uh-huh.
alcohol evaporate off,
Okay.
so that you can do it.
Mm.
And or help your liver. Give your liver some, milk thistle seed or something like that to help it cleanse and get whatever that toxin is out. But for pets, it should not be in there. We should not be giving it to
Yeah.
them. So I take the time to evaporate it off so that it's not in there. And I use an organic vegetable glycerin as
Okay.
a preservative.
I
Unfortunately, we
see.
have to have a preservative because these are
Yeah.
natural products, but this one is extremely safe and there are no side effects, and it's not a sugar or anything, so it's really good for them. But dementia is right now almost like the third leading cause of death. And people don't think it's just you lose your memory, and that's not what happens. Do you know what the other third leading cause of death is?
No, tell me.
I think dementia is actually fourth. Third, because it was a piece of research, is medical error.
Oh, that makes sense. You're prescribing the wrong thing, or you're prescribing too much, and they don't coexist.
Or you happen to have that system, or your pet has that system that cannot tolerate that chemical or whatever it is.
Yeah.
When I see people put their complete trust into their doctor or their vet, you can't do that. The person who is responsible for your health and your pet's health is you. So your vet says, take these pills, and those pills kill your dog. It's your fault, not your vet's fault.
Yeah. Well, it's our choice, right?
It's our choice. So we have to do our homework, and we have to look into what they're doing, because people don't understand that it's a pharmaceutical rep walking into these doctors' offices saying this does this, this, and this, and has no side effects. And the doctors go, okay. And they turn around and prescribe it to you.
Yeah. And that's it. Yeah.
And that's it. And it's just a salesperson. And like even right now, you can go buy Apoquil online or some of these other drugs, and they literally will say no side effects. You can't believe it. You got to go out of there and look up.
Everything is going to give you a side effects. Yeah, everything is going to give you a side effect.
Toxic. If the liver doesn't recognize it, if the body doesn't know what it is, it's got to work overtime to figure out how to get rid of it or put this
fight back
to use. Yeah. So what we learned in this research, I went ahead and did research on my formulation Clarity, and we tracked dogs that were already diagnosed with CCD, which is canine cognitive dysfunction, which is dementia in dogs. So it's Alzheimer's in dogs. And we took dogs that had mild, moderate, and severe, and we had an 81% improvement on these dogs. Wow. So what also is interesting is that even I didn't recognize the signs, but your dog just stops acting like itself. It becomes a little distant. As it gets worse, they kind of get lost in their space. They stand in corners and bark. Their food, their eating habits are different. They're peeing and pooing in the wrong places or at the wrong times. Worst thing that I experienced, and I literally had a senior dog rescue, was the waking up in the middle of the night. So waking up in the middle of the night, do I need a drink? Do I need to pee? Why am I interrupted?
Why am I awake?
Yeah. We need to remember that when we sleep, that's when we're healing and detoxing. So if we're not sleeping, we're not doing those things. And if you're a senior animal or a person, you need your sleep. It's vital. So being able to prove what I was already experiencing on my farm over and over again and be able to prove it in research was really important to me. But what I think the craziest, I knew what the results were going to be because I already saw it on my farm. But what I learned through this was I learned what pharmaceuticals have to go through for research. So I hired, he was a veterinarian for conventional veterinarian for 15 years, and now has run this research company for 15 years where he does it for pharmaceutical companies. We were the very first all natural product. And he literally met with us and said, guys, I want you not to be too excited about this because you're probably not going to get the results that you want. What are you talking about, dude? I already know I'm going to get the results that I want.
That's not his experience yet. Yeah.
He has never in his 15-year career had a drug do what they said it would do. Never. He also told us that the only thing that pharmaceuticals are required to do in the pet space is to not change the animal's health for the first 3 months. So then I went and looked at all of these awful drugs. Sure enough, they only run research for the first 3 months. They usually do it in healthy dogs. And a lot of times, if you go down the deep dive like I do in research, especially for pharmaceuticals, you'll see that they did it 2 or 3 times and stopped the research and started it up again. Why'd they do that?
No. Why?
Because they had too many adverse events. And they don't want to reveal that. So they just stop it and start another one. Change something, start it and stop it again. So
I see.
these drugs are not proven to be safe for our animals, nor are they proven to be effective. So that is
Sure.
why you have to look up and determine every time you're prescribed or offered a drug, you have to look up and go, are the side effects worth it? How long do I use this drug? Like if I need this
Yeah.
steroid or even an Apoquil, I'll never forget the first time I said to a vet, Apoquil's awful. And he's like, why do you think that? And I go, because
Uh-huh.
it causes all these things. And he goes, it's not supposed to be given more than 4 days in a row. And I'm like, it's being used long term all the time. Apoquil, how it should
Mm-hmm.
be used or Cytopoint should be used is this dog is miserable. Let's stop
Uh-huh.
this while we now go figure out what the root cause of this is instead of just
I
turn off
see.
the immune system, which is literally what it does.
That's
Can't do
crazy.
that.
That would kill your pet.
Why do
Yeah.
we exactly? Why are we doing this? Why are we messing with the way the body's supposed to operate and just turning things on and off and thinking that there's not going to be a repercussion for that?
Plus, all of these medications are very expensive for our animals. And a lot of people can't always afford them, but they feel this guilt and shame for not being
Well,
able to take care of their pet.
well,
And so
worse, now they
they'll,
have insurance. So
yeah,
now
now they have insurance,
everything,
they
the
have
dog
life
coughs.
insurance,
Yep. Now
insurance,
the
and
dog
now it
coughs
is,
and they go to the vet and are prescribed something.
yeah,
So it's like to me
yeah.
makes it
It's just
worse
like,
instead of figuring it out yourself.
it's just snowballing. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our
So,
research proved what we already knew,
yes,
because it had already
perfect.
been researched before. And what I think is most important is that there isn't anything on the market right now for both humans or animals with dementia that actually
Right.
helps them. So there is turn to nature. Look up, get a good lion's
Yeah.
mane dual extract. Look at Bacopa monnieri. Look at reishi. Look at these cordyceps. I'm telling you, you will feel them and see the difference. I just finished going through menopause, and the only thing that I did not experience was brain fog. And I think that's because I take my clarity every day. It really,
Uh-huh.
they protect the brain, they help the brain operate. It's just, I mean, Mother Nature again gives us everything that we need. And we just need to
She does.
find the way, make sure that it's being grown in the right conditions, extracted in the right conditions. So mushrooms are both medicine and food. So
Yeah.
extracting is the medicine, but when you eat them, you can't get those compounds out when you eat them because they have to be extracted by alcohol and hot water. They're protected by an
That's
outer layer.
interesting.
But that
Okay.
outer layer that it's called chitin is an insoluble fiber and incredible for the gut. So
Yeah.
mushrooms are prebiotics and postbiotics. So they're incredible
Okay.
for the gut. 3 grams. So go to your Whole Foods or your farmer's market, find locally because whatever's around you is what you need.
Yep.
And my favorite, like maitake, shiitake, lion's mane, king trumpet, oyster, all of those mushrooms are incredibly good for you. Bring them home, wash them off, chop them up, fry them in a pan with some ghee, grass-fed ghee for like 25 minutes. 3
Yeah.
grams, feed the microbiome for 13 days. So if you
Is
were to
that
do this
crazy?
this
13
is
days.
another piece of research. So if you were to do this every 2 weeks for you and your pets, and this includes your cats, you're literally giving the microbiome everything that it needs. And as you know, the gut microbiome is where our immune system lives. So if we can
Yes.
feed it, we literally are halfway there at keeping ourselves healthy and feeling good. And the same thing goes
Amazing.
for animals. So take their extracts
Incredible.
and eat them. They have so many beneficial things. Everything that you see out there, and I'm against isolates of anything. I don't even
Yeah.
like quercetin by itself or
Uh-huh.
glutathione by itself or
Uh-huh.
ergothioneine by itself, which you probably haven't even heard of ergothioneine, but
I
ergothioneine
haven't.
makes glutathione seem like nothing, but
Oh, really?
it's in all mushrooms. So,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and
Oh,
mushrooms are filled. Like chaga has more antioxidants than anything. Shiitake
isn't that crazy?
mushrooms have are third after nutritional yeast and liver for the most B vitamins that you could possibly get
So
in something.
crazy.
So we
Mushrooms
just
are
have
amazing.
forgotten about them, about how important and incredible they are, and they're here for a reason. Eat your mushrooms, throw them in your
Eat
pasta,
your
throw them in your
mushrooms. Yeah.
salad, do anything.
Yeah.
They're so good
Eat the
for you.
mushrooms, take your mushroom tinctures. Yeah.
That's right.
Heal
Right.
yourself with mushrooms psychologically and physically. Yeah, I love it. And so just to touch base on your research that if you're seeing this vast improvement, 81% you said a vast
Mhm.
improvement in animals with this tincture, and we earlier said that we are built similarly in our bodies,
Mm.
humans versus then I would think then if we took your tinctures, we probably would have some improvement too,
Absolutely. There's a
even if
lot
it
of
has a
people doing
beautiful
it.
dog picture on it. Yeah.
Exactly. All of my product, everything I make is human grade. There should be no difference between what the quality that we give our pets versus us. And that's
Yeah.
usually what it means is that they can use cheaper things or whatever. So yes, I take it. I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to tell you or allowed to tell you,
Yeah.
yep, take this for that.
Yeah.
I've already gotten my first FDA letter and I'm a big
Uh-huh.
threat and a disruptor in the
Oh, I
industry,
bet you are.
but that's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep on telling people what I know and what I've learned and what the proof already exists, but you just don't see it and nobody's talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it all the time, constantly.
Angela, please keep talking about it. And
Thanks.
I'm so glad that we are having this conversation today so that we can get the word out there because it's super important. And at the end of the day, it's not about listening to the FDA or a pharmacist. At the end of the day, it's about listening to yourself, your body, using your own discernment, using all the tools that we have, so many in front of us, especially nowadays with AI, to do your
Mhm.
own research and make sure you're shopping locally because that's where it's at. You'll know if those mushrooms are being grown or forged, and how they're being grown, if they're being grown to mimic their environment or not, like in China. So it's also a huge, huge play. It's kind of like the herb industry, right? These herb essence oils that people are talking about. It's the same thing. Use your discernment for that too. How are they extracting those herbs? It may not be what you think. So keep having this conversation. And I am a huge fan of your work. And it's clear
Thanks.
that you know what you're talking about because I don't think you stopped smiling and laughing this whole time. It's true passion, though. And that means you're embodying all of this knowledge and bringing it out to the world. And I love it. And I love you for doing all this work and taking care of our fur babies, but also making that correlation between the human and the fur babies that we love
Mhm.
so much. So
Mhm.
keep up the good work, girl.
Thank you so much for having me
Yeah,
and allowing me to talk about this and spreading this news because it is.
absolutely.
We're fed the
Yeah,
other side all the time, but the
all the
FDA
time.
isn't out there to protect us. They protect the pharmaceutical company and work for the pharmaceutical companies. And proof of that
Yeah,
is that hemp has been legal since 2018 and the industry has been begging the FDA to put regulations into place and they haven't and they won't.
they won't.
They don't ever will
Yeah,
because
they
they're
probably
not
won't.
going to until pharmaceutical companies control, and that is what's happening now. Your right
Yeah,
to these all natural medicines is being taken away.
yeah.
Homeopathy is under attack, and there's a hemp ban right now. So they're literally
Uh-huh.
trying to take away your right from getting this medicine over the counter and putting it into pharmaceuticals' hands where they're then going to take because that's all pharmaceutical. Every pharmaceutical drug is based on a food, plant, or mushroom that worked, but you can't patent
Right.
those. So they just take out certain compounds and remake them in a lab. And your body
Yeah.
doesn't know what that is. And there's always going to be a side
Because it's
effect.
not a
So,
real, it's not a real compound
no. So
anymore.
if you are already a
Yep.
fan of natural medicine, you gotta write your congressmen and senators, look up what you can do to fight hemp or even homeopathy. You guys don't think
Mhm.
it happens, but it does. My favorite eye drops, gone.
It's crazy.
Not because
Wiped
something happened or they made people sick. No, because the
because they
big
worked.
giant exactly, the big giant companies, the Johnson and Johnsons didn't want to compete with them. So they got
Mhm.
rid of them. So I can't
Yeah.
even get my eye drops anymore or
Yeah.
anything. And that's going to just keep on happening unless we
Yeah.
speak up and write and make people know that it is being taken away from us.
Yeah. So stand up for this right too. So we have to stand up and keep standing up and keep speaking out and keep doing our part.
That's right.
Thank you, Angela. How can people find you online so they can find these t-shirts for their pets or for themselves?
Yeah. My website is my name, angelaardolino.com. where I have lots of education and information and all the research. And my products are called Myco Dog and CBD Dog Health, and they both have their own websites. And I have a podcast. So if you love animals, I have a podcast called Your Natural Dog, and it's all I do is talk about with practitioners and holistic veterinarians. That's what's funny. People are like, "You're anti-veterinarian." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I love me a holistic doctor or veterinarian." They got out of school and they continued to educate themselves and learn about diet and nutrition and all of these things.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And
Thanks for
all of your
having me.
information will be in the descriptions and everything else. This is a great conversation. So informational.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on. And if you ever have any questions, keep in touch.
Thank you for being here and sharing this space with us. Conversations like this matter because they invite us to slow down, question what we've been taught, and reconnect with what really feels true in our bodies and for our pets. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it with someone who loves their animals as deeply as you do, because sometimes that's where the doorway opens. You can find more from Angela Ardolino in the show notes, along with all of her work and resources. And as always, be sure to follow, subscribe, and stay connected with Love of One across YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.